5 and there'll be no phone call. There are 3 rose balloons in the phone.
All right, right away.
You know, I forget to tell people how much I think of them. I mean, here's Michelle.
Well, yeah, we forget. I mean, we all do.
Yeah, well, you kind of look out for yourself during this.
You do?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go.
Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go see Harry Travis's former employer.
Ben, nobody just walks in and sees Jay Cutler.
When you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? Well, if you don't, it's time to change. Because right now, you can try Bally's free. Just call this number now and get a free 2-week trial membership. Work out as often as you want for 2 weeks and try out Life Step, the free weights, aerobics, everything. It can change the way you look. All of you.
For a free 2-week membership at the Bally's Holiday Spa nearest you, call 1-800-695-7777.
After spending 4 months in the hospital following his motorcycle accident, Mike found his troubles were just beginning.
When the medical provider started sending me the bills, the insurance company didn't want to pay them. So Robert DeBry got on the insurance company's case and made them pay those bills. Just as Robert DeBry and Associates was recommended to me, I would recommend Robert DeBry to anyone who was having these.
You learn that you better leave them alone and not bother them all the time.
You mean not be on their backs all the time?
Yeah.
Okay. Reflect back on some of the family vacations that we took. I know you were always you thought family vacations were always very important.
Yes, I always enjoyed having family vacations. I remember having some up to what we call Camp Easley in Idaho. When George Barnard was alive, he and Dean and maybe one of their family would be joining in. We went up there. But I'm talking about my dad and Chloe, and we got to this camp where there was a swimming pool. I remember some of the pictures we took around that swimming pool, which were very interesting, concerning my dad. He had a pretty good sized pot belly. And that made it very funny when you take his picture.
Mm-hmm. So any other vacations you remember?
Oh, we usually try to get off and we'd have a fishing trip or an attempted fishing trip, whether we caught any fish or not. But we go wherever there was fish and play around. fishing a lot of ways is a little too much following the fish trick, you might say.
Colorado.
Oh yeah, I remember going around Colorado. I'd gotten acquainted with a certain part of Colorado through a prospective mine, you might say, but it didn't ever turn out to be anything. But in that way, I got acquainted with a certain part of Colorado where there was had been a lot of mining. Yeah, we made a trip to Disneyland. I think you did some of the driving on the trip.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I got quite a kick out of Disneyland. I suppose all the rest of it you did. When you haven't been there before, why, it's great stuff.
When you talked about Camp Easley, we went up there a number of times.
Yeah. Well, that was just a little bit out of the way camp, that's all. We went up there and pitched our tents and camped out. Cooked your food and gas burners.
Mm-hmm. And I seem to remember a vacation to Grand Canyon and Zions and Bryce.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Zions and Bryce is a great place to go to and tour.
Tell us about that rainstorm at Wolf Creek Pass.
Yeah, that was interesting when it was all over. We got good and wet in the process. I had this tent of ours, and I didn't even bring all of it, but it wouldn't hold the water because it was raining. And we got it so wet, and I just folded it up, and we sat in the car. We could at least keep the rain off of us that way.
Mm-hmm.
But we got nice and wet, which didn't hurt us once, I guess.
Let's switch and talk about the holidays you remember. Christmases, Easters, birthdays. Any of those holidays stick out in your mind at all?
Well, of
Particular
course,
one?
especially Christmas. Everybody always makes something at Christmas. Unless you don't make anything at Christmas, in some quarters you're not a good Christian. Seems like all your good share of the items that you gain during the year come at Christmas time. seems that's just the way it is, the way it's organized.
For example, seeing the lights at
Yeah, that was one tradition. We went around to all the places where there are good displays and to look at the lights, which is a good tradition.
Mother always seemed to read the night before Christmas.
Yeah, that was your mom. I think she furthered a lot of those traditions like that.
I remember bubble lights that we
Huh.
always hung on the Christmas tree.
Yeah, had to have bubble lights.
And some families open up Christmas gifts on Christmas Eve, but we always waited
Until Christmas.
until Christmas morning. Then Santa Claus had always left the presents on chairs
Yeah,
with our name tag.
Santa Claus is a great old guy.
Yeah.
Chin camera.
I thought tonight we'd start out by talking about your health history and I don't know how you've been in pretty good health most of your life, I think.
Yeah, it's something rather strange to me that we went all the way through work record up until retirement at age 65, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, well, I had an operation for a tumor in my colon, and that healed up very soon. And then I and the wife went on a mission in Chowchilla, California, and went through all of that, and then came home, and I hadn't heard anything about diabetes, which is in our family history. And so that showed up after all that. That was rather strange to me that it come in after all of those things.
When did the diabetes start showing up? How old were you?
Well, age, I guess I've had it now for, I'd say, about 2 years. And as I say, it didn't show up until after I'd gone through a remission and had a colon operation. But I always had very good health. In fact, during my work time, I didn't miss the shift that I was scheduled to go on account of health. not one.
That's a fantastic record. What about your heart attack, though? You suffered a heart attack during your working years.
That was way back, see how old was it when I had that heart attack. I wasn't anywhere near retirement age. Yeah. And guess what? I'm due to get my 50-year union pin. See, Richard, it's on Sunday. It's the next to the last Sunday of this month. So Richard will take me down and
Must have been just mom. Touch.
this diabetes is something that has me thrilled because it shows up on one side, on the left left leg, and it's severe. You can hardly use the leg. It has an effect throughout my body. I lost a lot of weight. Lost about all I am entitled to. And that's all on account of diabetes. It affects your appetite. Just don't have any desire for food like that. I didn't hear you, Dan.
I said it's also affected your sight quite a bit.
Oh.
How much at this point can you still see?
I should mention about the sight. I can't read anymore, and they tell me, no, that isn't on account of the diabetes, but it's due to aging, and sight, that is, you can see, but you don't have real sharp vision. Can't see sharply. Can't read. I went all the way through the printing. I had nothing to do with sight or anything else. No ailment like that. But say that's due to aging there. But everything's like it's in a fog.
What you did, what some of your memories are.
Yeah, well, headquarters of our mission was in Fresno.
And the year that you went was?
Oh boy. I'd have to check on that. I don't. It's down where the year and all that.
Then probably
anyway, we started driving from the mission home in Provo. We arrived at St. George that little late that day, and I didn't want to drive any further, so we got a place there in St. George and went on to our mission in the next day. Went around and through is it Bakersfield? No.
Yeah, could be.
Well, anyways, we circled around and into California. And eventually, we arrived right in Fresno and showed up at the mission home. The president of the mission, President Brunson, he had quite a lot of meetings that day. And when we showed up, he sorted us out and put me with the young elders, and your mom with the women missionaries. And we did tracking there around Fresno. And I stayed with the elders, and of course your mom stayed with the women. So we got acquainted right away with the routine, but eventually after, I don't know, we was there for a day or two, then working with the elders and the young lady missionaries, and then President Bunsen gave us our assignment. We used to go to town down the line on the highway called Chowchilla, Chowchilla. It's quite a picture. It's a little town that had a long row of palm trees which grow in California. And that made it quite a good looking town. Robertson Boulevard, and that's palm trees. So we landed there in Chowchilla, and soon got acquainted with the branch president. Chowchilla wasn't a ward at the time. Had been a ward, but it was a branch. They had a small chapel there, and we showed up at the chapel, and they explained to me where the ranch president lived. He lived out in the country. So I guess I didn't get a hold of him that particular day, but he came into where we were staying in a motel there. And then eventually the members came up with an apartment, which is a small apartment, which is all we required. It had been an old garage. There was so many small spiders, and that made her abode in the apartment. I asked for a tank vacuum, and every morning I'd go around with this tank vacuum and vacuum the spiders were hanging to the walls.
I'll bet Mom enjoyed that, huh? She likes spiders.
Well, they were mostly small spiders, so they didn't want anything much, but you just had to get rid of them. So we started going out and seeing the people. What was surprising to me, a little surprising the number of people that you'd contact and maybe talk about the Book of Mormon or whatever. What the surprising thing to me was you didn't get people that were willing to study the gospel, the way it's given to us. They just went on about their business, wouldn't pay any attention to the Book of Mormon or anything else. We sure handed out a lot of Book of Mormons in that community. We not only worked in Chowchilla, there was other small communities around there that would go out and talk to. Every once in a while you'd run into a minister of the gospel of another faith. And that was interesting. Sometimes there were women ministers and even colored women ministers. I'd tell them all the gospel the way we had our version. And some of the stories were quite interesting.
So did you go out tracting every day, or what did your...
Every missionary day, which was all except Mondays. Mondays was prep day, and of course Sunday you went to church. But some of these stories were interesting. This one woman minister, she claimed to have been cured of gosh, what am I?
Cured of some kind of disease?
Yeah. What's the main one?
Cancer?
Yeah, she claimed to be have been cured of cancer.
Yeah. So, did you teach her about the Book of Mormon? This
Well,
lady
I
minister?
didn't get talking to her very much at all. She did talking. We listened. She thought she had it all down. Yeah. But all those experiences there mainly just, they were experiencing, and they didn't do you any harm, but didn't gain any converts by it.
Yeah. So, how big was the branch there in Chowchilla?
Well, it's, I guess you'd call it a small branch. It had been a ward, but it had been joined up with another branch, another small community, and then that community went into a ward, and our ward went to being a branch.
Mm-hmm.
There's a small chapel there, which is all right. Didn't have to be very large.
How many people came out to church on a Sunday? 80 or so?
I think it'd be about that. Yeah, they had it all organized, and I think we had sacrament meeting first at that time. Had sacrament meeting, and then went into the Sunday school, Relief Society, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was all very interesting, but when it came after we'd served a year, they gave us a choice of whether we wanted to serve another 6 months or not. I and your mom decided, no, there wasn't too much use of serving the extra 6 months. We wouldn't do any better than we had done. But we enjoyed it all, and we got to a lot of different small communities around there. There's one of them they call Fireball community, and it was mainly Spanish speaking people. Of course, you know there'd be illegal aliens, but you wouldn't say anything about that. But anyway, these farmers, they wanted them bad. They wanted somebody to do the labor. So they built big apartment complexes to house these people, these Spanish. And we, as far as contacting them is concerned, we get a hold of a bunch of Spanish Book of Mormons and hand them out if they were willing to read them. So we go through the apartment life, and then later on a little bit we team up with a couple of Spanish-speaking missionaries, and went out with them. And did a little better with it when they speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
But Spanish people, since they're descended directly from what we call the Lamanites in the Book of Mormon, you'd think that they would latch onto that Book of Mormon and realize that that's part of their history, which it was. Well, have we been holding forth long enough now, or what, how long? Rooming, and we took the base from the apartment, which wasn't too handy because I think it had a shower down there, but your mom wanted to take a tub bath, and to do that she had to climb up 2 or 3 flights of stairs. And so of course we didn't stay there too long. We found another apartment and moved around a bit because I don't know what's happened to the apartment business. I remember at that time that I wasn't paying more than about how much? About $40 or $60 for an apartment per month. Now they build the apartments out of the cheapest materials they can get, and they charge you. You pay through the nose for it.
Yep. That's right.
I don't know how they could get away with that, and what's made the big change in the apartment system. I know I got an apartment in one of the well-built apartments, fancy brick and all that. I didn't pay more than $80 for it. But the apartments you get now, you pay, what is it, $200 or $300? When we moved out here, Richard was just born. He was a baby. So we had your other 2 children. And well, trouble is with repeating funny memories. They might have been funny to you at the time, but they don't come out that way when you tell them.
You had to have been there.
Yeah. I and your mom was got along all right. We both tried to live up to our part of the agreement, and we've done all right, I guess.
What about your honeymoon?
What about what?
Your honeymoon, didn't Mom get out and walk when you were going
Oh.
to this?
Well, I was up in Idaho, where Lake Ponderay, I think it was, and there was the road. It was just a sort of a makeshift road, and she didn't like those steep stretches where you go around the lake and you look straight down into the water, steep, and so she wouldn't even ride in the car with me around those. She'd get out and walk. But she caught I had an outboard motor that I put in the trunk of the car, and I had this outboard motor, and we rented a boat. We went fishing, and you guess what you used for bait? It was kernels of corn. So your mom caught a fish with the kernels of corn. She always got a big kick out of that. She caught a fish.
Yeah, it's funny she didn't go fishing after that.
Yeah. Well, she caught one anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good trip on our honeymoon. I circled down around Los Angeles and back up on the route that was next to the seashore, and of course it was all curves.
Yeah, it sounds pretty.
That's where we wanted to go, so that's where we went.
Do you remember much about Mom's back surgery? What kind of memories do you have from that period?
Well, let's see. Yeah, well, what it is, she developed pains in the leg. And when they get checking out the nerves and that, they figure it's connected to the nerves of the spine. And she had the operation, but she almost lost her life in the process. The surgeon that at that time had cut a vessel in her spine.
By mistake?
Yeah. By accident. Not intending to do it. And she almost leaded it, so they had to they had to go into another operation from the backside. Another operation to cut off, to close off that blood vessel so she wouldn't bleed to death. So she was operated on from both sides, front and the back. Which didn't make it too handy when you're trying to move around in a hospital bed.
No.
But she survived, so we're lucky she did.
How long was she in the hospital?
Oh boy.
Are we talking a month or?
I'm sure it was a month. I was swarming out 3 kids to the Relief Society here in our ward, which is all right with me, but I had to go to work and I'd take you to wherever they said to take you. You were staying that day and pick you up there at night. And I'm for sure it was more than a month.
Must have been hard for Mom when she came back.
Yeah, she had a lot of healing up to do. I guess luckily she was in good health or she wouldn't have survived it.
Now, let's talk about your reflections of being a grandparent. You've got 4 grandchildren: Cindy, Heidi, Tiffany, and Tricia.
Well, we got one family that where we have grandchildren. Richard hasn't married, and neither is Althea's. So we're happy to have grandchildren and enjoy association with them.
Do you have any funny memories of the kids when they've been over here? Things they've said or mischief they've gotten into?
Well, they must be pretty good kids, because I don't remember too much mischief, except when they go to fill up the stomach, which everybody does.
You've had some hobbies that you've enjoyed. A couple come to mind, like photography and gardening. You want to say some?
Well, we had a little space out here to grow whatever we wanted, so I did that, and that was the garden. But I was never I wouldn't say I made too much a hobby of gardening because I didn't keep at it that much. But we grew a few things and used them.
Grew like what, corn and
Yeah, we had some good corn.
radishes and peas and even some
Well,
watermelon.
this ground wasn't too good to grow everything. I found that out, so I didn't try it. You could grow good tomatoes and a few things like that. So I'd stick to the things that you could grow.
Mm-hmm. I seem to remember some pumpkins and squash.
Yeah, the squash and pumpkins, they're easy to grow. And we use them mostly.
You had a pretty nice apple tree and
Yeah,
peach tree.
a nice apple tree for the kids to climb.
Yeah.
No, it weren't too awful good to apples. We got some peaches we could use well enough. But mostly just a shade tree. Movie camera.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of fun with the movie camera. Took pictures of everything.
My memory of that is going when you took me up to Alta Ski Resort and you rode the ski lift
Yeah,
up with that movie camera.
I tried to take pictures of a ride on the tram.
It wasn't the tram, it was just the ski lift, wasn't
Ski lift. I took pictures of the ride on the ski lift.
it? Pretty bumpy.
So that didn't work out too good. But anyways, I tried to take pictures of everything.
One-touch photography back then.
Yeah. Well, that covers everything but my diabetes. I don't know.
And I think we talked about that last time.
Uh-huh.
Unless there's something else you want to say.
No. A liability. And I've always tried to do the home teaching assignments and visit the members. And I wouldn't say too much about that. It's just something you do when you believe it. And since coming home from World War II, I've gradually got to study the church and believe in it. Study the scriptures, find that they're true, and go against them, you'd be really just going against your own interests. But I'm glad to have a good companion that believes the same way. She does her visiting teaching now. And I can't get out on account of I'm not mobile enough. So I just passed on the deal, you might say. But I think the church is true.
Okay.
And that's the way you bet your life. When you believe in it.
Tell us about the different wards you've lived in.
We'd get mixed up with the mice sometimes when we were doing our church work. But they were building this chapel over here, the one that we attend now. And we did a certain amount of work on it. I didn't overdo it, but you take your assignments and try to fulfill, and that.
This was before the church did all of the construction, right? They
Yeah.
actually have the members go out.
Well, the volunteer labor a lot. The things that they could do, they did. So we belonged to the Ranger 7th Ward for years and years. Until it finally, are you taken?
Yeah.
It finally you got to the point where you couldn't hardly get enough bona fide members to keep your ward going. And so they finally discontinued one ward and joined the others together. The bishop didn't know where to put me, but he found out where he had a need. He had a need in the Sunday school, so he made me Sunday school president. And that wasn't down my line because I hadn't had any experience. And besides that, the teachers were always, you might say, bowing out, and you're supposed to get somebody to take their places.